Good morning, everybody. Glad to be with you again. Thanks for taking time out of your day, whether it's on this Saturday morning or on a replay. I think you're going to enjoy what I have to share with you. Today, I'm going to share something that I normally don't share. Um, Besides talking about the 5 things that you want to look at when you're evaluating a note, I started to put that together. I thought, you know what? The best way is just show them a note. And there's a note that I did with one of my students just a couple months ago. And I got to tell you, it is one of the best notes that I've ever seen. Like if I were going to create a note, I would really try to create it just like this note. And so instead of just showing you slides and lecturing more or less, we're going to go through a real deal. And I'm going to share this deal with you. So I think you'll really enjoy it. And don't forget, for everybody who's on at the end of the webinar, we will do a drawing and we will give away access to my Negotiating is Not a Contact Sport audio classes. And those are really cool classes that I did with Gil Weiss. He's a master negotiator. They will help you not only with your note deals and real estate deals, but just with life in general. So the lucky winner I know will really enjoy that. So let's get started. And I want to share with you now, this is a deal, like I said, that a student and I just did a few months ago. Okay, here we go. Okay, there are 5 things that you want to look at when you're evaluating a deal. And you'll see me go through these as I look at the real deal. First of all, I always look at the collateral. When you bring me a note, the first thing that I want to see is what is the loan to value? How good is the collateral? So I'll show you that. And then we look at the terms of the note. Is it well written? Are they terms that I would like to live with? And then we check out the payor. Are they stable? Do I think they're going to keep making payments on time? And then I got to look at what kind of yield I can get if I buy it. And then last but not least, does the note meet your goal? For instance, if you are wanting to set up monthly cash flow and this note is a single payment balloon, well, then this note isn't something that you're going to want to do. Or if it's in another state and you're limiting your investing to just notes in your own state, then maybe you wouldn't want to do it. So we want to look at all 5 of those things. So this is a note that a student sent to me, and she actually got this through direct mail. This came in on her first batch of direct mail that she sent out. And it is a real deal, but I put a fake address in just for privacy reasons, because I'm sure the note seller, the borrowers, they don't want these details out. This was a property in Texas, as I said. It sold originally on July 15th of 2017. Now, we were looking at this around May. So it was just coming upon 12 months of seasoning. And ideally, when you're looking for a note, everybody always wants 12 months of seasoning. But if the borrower is particularly strong, or if they have put down a sizable down payment, then people will consider less. If it's a super, super solid borrower, you could even buy a note like with 3 months of seasoning. Like if they put 20% down and they have really good credit, somebody would buy that with 3 months of seasoning. But typically 6 to 12 months is more normal, okay? If they don't have at least 10% down, the general rule of thumb is then it needs to have 12 months of seasoning, okay? So the original selling price was $69,900, okay? And they put $12,500 down, which is a nice down payment, okay? And they took back a note for $57,400. Should say the seller took back the note. So right off the bat, I want to look at the loan to value at the time of the purchase. So just figuring their down payment. So I'm going to divide 57,400, which is the loan amount, by the purchase price of the property. And I see that at the time that it was originated back in June of last year or July of last year, the loan to value was 82%. I mean, so they put 18% down. And I'm thinking, you know what? With a year of payments, there's a good chance that it'd be paid down more. And I was right. The current balance at that time when I bought it was $51,325. So if you divide that by the sale price, it's a great 73%. So needless to say, I looked at this deal and I was jumping for joy. Okay. Um, so I would add that 82%, it's not like it's cut in stone that, oh, if it's 2% over, I'm not going to buy it. Even if it were currently 82%, that I would still take that deal. But I just wanted you to see that with the monthly pay down, man, they've gained a lot of equity in this property over the past year. And you'll see why in just a minute. It doesn't always happen like that. Also, I want to tell you that when you are looking at the value today, if the sale has occurred within the past year, regardless of what an appraisal or online values might say, we always use the sale price. Now, in this case, I confirmed online that the values ran between $65,000 and $70,000. So it's exactly the same anyway. Okay, so now let's go on and let's check the note. So I told you 5 things we're going to look at. We looked at the collateral and we like the collateral. Okay, so now we move on to the note. So we said that the original loan amount was $57,400. Now check this out. It was fully amortized over 72 months. That means it's going to be paid off in 6 years, completely paid off. No balloon. I love that. And the reason that I love it is because I don't have to discount it so much. As a general rule, well, it's true. The longer it takes for you to get your money back, the less value that note is going to be to you. Okay, so the shorter term notes are much better. And normally, when we're looking at a short term loan, there's a balloon. Well, balloons are like a double edged sword. Yes, it shortens the term, so it makes that note more valuable, so you don't have to take as much of a discount. But on the other hand, what if the borrower can't refinance? Then you've got a worse problem because you bought it expecting to get that balloon payoff, and now you might have to wait, let it fully amortize or wait a few more years until they can refinance. And so that is going to lower your rate of return that you had expected. So I loved that this was a 6-year note and it was fully amortizing. And the reason that worked was, 1, because they had a sizable down payment, but 2, because the purchase price was so low. At 69.9, well, actually, the loan amount was 57.4. With the buyers, they could easily afford. Both of them are working, no children, so I mean they've got nice income coming in. It was no problem for them to pay the monthly payment of $1,063. Okay. And so check out the interest rate, 10% interest. Okay. So the higher the interest rate, the less we have to discount. Now, we're still going to take some kind of a discount. I think you've heard me say before that most investors will want a minimum of a 5 to 10% discount. Okay. It depends again on did I say borrower? The investor will want a 5 to 10% discount. But in this case, since we're starting out at a 10% rate, the face amount on the coupon rate on the note, then we're not going to have to discount very much, and we're going to be able to give the investor a very nice rate of return. And I already talked about the payment amount. Well, also keep in mind that do you see that in most cases, if you were amortizing this over 30 years or 20 years or whatever, that payment typically is going to be around $600 or something like that a month. It's going to be a lot less. So from an investor's point of view, I love that you can invest a smaller amount and get a larger monthly payment. Okay. And most investors prefer that. So that was very appealing as well. We already talked about no balloon. So they wrote this with the first payment due August 15th. At the time that they brought me this note, 10 payments had already been made. So there were 62 payments left, and the next payment was due June 15th. Now, a lot of times I will push out the date that I begin buying the payments to give us time to completely close. But in this particular case, the seller agreed to sell me payments beginning in June. Now, mind you, one payment, when we closed, one payment, that June payment had already been made. Okay. But I have it in my contract that if he collects the June payment, then it's just deducted from his proceeds, from his sale proceeds. And that is the only deduction that I ever make on sale proceeds. I believe that when you give a note seller a quote, that you should stick to that amount. They should get a check for that amount. Well, he collected the $1,063 that was supposed to be mine, so rightfully so, I deducted it from his proceeds. So after these 10 payments were made, the balance owing was $51,325.16. And he sent me his bank statements showing that all 10 payments were made like clockwork. In fact, they were done with an ACH payment. And it was easy to tell that the payment belonged to them because it's such an odd amount. If they have a lot of rents or mortgage payments coming in and they're 1,000 or 700 or 800, sometimes you can't be sure that that payment pertains to this particular note. But in this case, it was very easy to see, and it was an ACH payment, so it was automatically done every month. So I really am jumping for joy at this point. I'm thinking, man, the collateral's great. The note could not be better. I mean, seriously, if I were writing a note that I intended to sell later and I wanted to get top dollar out of it, it would be this note. There is nothing that I would change about this note. So keep this in mind, that this is a perfect example. If you're thinking about creating a note, if you're selling a property, see if you can do something like this, because when you go to sell it, you're going to get the top dollar possible. Okay, so we've looked at the collateral, we looked at the note, and the third thing we want to look at is the payor. And these are not really the payors, but they were a nice young couple. And that was a good picture. That's how I imagine them to look, okay? And they are very hardworking. I was so impressed with this couple. Both of them were extremely polite, very articulate, very on point, and very, very responsible. And I mean, I just was so impressed with them. And so I asked them about their credit. And the husband said that they were working on it because they want to refinance. More music to my ears, because if they refinance, they're going to pay me off even quicker than the 7-year term, right? Or 6-year term, excuse me. So, and it tells me that he's almost got perfect credit, or not perfect credit, but he's almost able to refinance. So they do live in the house, and he is a truck driver. So we know that he makes good money. He's out on the road. He'll be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time. She is a hairstylist. And what really impressed me was they were so hard to reach because they were always working. And from talking to them, I learned that their intent was to get this house paid off as quickly as they can. So, I mean, like I said, they're just very responsible. They have a financial plan and they're sticking to it. He had already done a lot of remodeling in the 10 months that they lived there. So they have great pride of ownership. They're really taking care of it. They're fixing it up, and they're planning on staying there. And what was really funny was I primarily dealt with the wife, and she was so worried that by selling the note, it would cause her to lose the house. What if the new investor doesn't get our payments? Are they going to foreclose and take our house? We don't want to do anything to jeopardize this. We want to make sure I need to know exactly where to send it. Can we do automatic payments? Because I don't really trust the mail. I mean, it was so clear that they were very, very concerned that all the payments be made on time. So that was pretty awesome as well. And so we did set up for automatic payments to be made. So again, I'm jumping for joy. You know what I mean? So I've checked the note or the collateral. I've checked the note. I've checked the payer. Everything. It couldn't be better. I am just absolutely thrilled. So now, if you want to look at the numbers, and this is something that I normally don't share, but a lot of people have been asking for numbers. So I'm going to start sharing those more often. However, what I want you to know is if you are not a numbers person, please do not worry about it. Try to pick it up if you can, but if it's like some people just have a mental block about numbers. What you really want to know is that you're going to buy low and you're going to sell high, and whatever the difference is going to go in your bank account. Okay. And so if you find a note, if you send it to me or send it to another note buyer, they're going to tell you what they're going to pay. And then you deduct, if you want to make $10,000, deduct $10,000 and requote it to the note seller. And you haven't even calculated a yield. You don't need to know the yield because you know you're going to make $10,000. Okay. But for those of you who really enjoy the numbers and want to see how I arrived at these figures, I'm going to show you the numbers. So when I get a note, the first thing that I do is check the original terms. It's amazing how many times the original terms on the promissory note itself are wrong. Okay. Now, if that should happen, don't worry, because we can fix those with the either a modification or with, I usually fix it if it's not a big deal. I usually just fix it with the mortgagee and mortgagor estoppel, which is an affidavit where both the note seller and the payor swear to what the terms of the deal are, or the terms of the note. Okay, so you can see I'm going to put the original loan amount was $57,400. I put that in as a negative number into present value, PV. And that's negative because it's money out of the lender's pocket. Okay. And I've got my 10% into I, 72, that would be our six years of monthly payments. I put 0 in future value because it's fully amortizing. At the end of 72 months, there will be nothing owed. And then when you solve for payment, you find out that the payment amount is $1,063.38, which coincides with what they have on the promissory note. Okay. Looking at this calculation, this tells me that if they lend $57,400 at 10% interest for 72 months, the payment would be $1,063.38. Okay. All of these lines tell a story. And if you get used to looking at it like that, you don't even have to write notes. When you can just write down your 5 numbers. You notice that I always bold and underline what I solve for, because it's important to know what you solve for. Then I can get my whole train of thought. I can go back 5 years later and go, hey, I see what I did here. Okay, there was no balloon. So line 2 of my 4 infallible steps, we don't even have to calculate that. So the third step in our calculation is to calculate the current balance. Well, very simply, 10 payments have already been made. So we're going to put 10 into N, and we solve for future value. And we find out that the current balance is $51,325.16. So you notice that I did not bring down my 10%, my 57.4, and my payment amount. It's just because it clutters up the paper. But no, those numbers are still in the calculator. So this tells me that if someone has lent $57,400 at 10% interest, and they have made 10 payments of $1,063.38, then they would still owe, upon making that 10th payment, they would still owe $51,300 $25.16. See how that works? And then our fourth step, this is to calculate the present value of what we're buying. I call it the present value of the remaining payments. So notice, if we originally had 72 payments and 10 payments have been made, obviously we're buying the remaining 62 payments. So I'm going to put 62 into N. We leave our 10% in I. The payment amount does not change. And again, we're going to put 0 in future value because after we collect those 62 payments, nothing will be owed on the note. So by just solving or pressing PV, we see that the value, today's value of the 62 remaining payments is $51,325.16. Sound familiar? It should, because that actually is the same as the current balance. It's the same number. It's just two different ways of calculating. When we calculated current balance, we went from the beginning to today. When we calculate the present value of the remaining, we basically went from the future value backwards to today. But both of those numbers are at the same point on the timeline. Okay. And the reason that we like to do this present value of the remaining, as you will see in just a minute, is it sets it up so that it is very easy to calculate your buy and sell rate. Okay. I also like it because it really clearly shows how much of a discount the note seller will be taking. Now, in this case, we negotiated with the note seller and found that he would accept $42,500. So simply by plugging that 42.5 into PV, leaving everything else the same, and then you just solve for I, if we bought that for 42.5, look at our rate of return. Now, it just so happened that I didn't have 42.5 available at that time, because let me tell you, if I did, I would have bought it myself. I mean, I would have loved to have bought this note myself, but I didn't have cash available. So we're going to flip it. But understand that when you are marketing for your own notes, okay, you can get super high rates of return right out of the gate without waiting for an early payoff or anything. So understand that if you're going to buy a note from me, then I'm going to sell it to you at the market rate, okay, as you'll see in a minute when I sell this to my investor. But if you do not have time to market, that's what you should do. Let me know. Fill out my investor profile form and buy a note from me, because I'm still going to give you a very nice rate of return. You'll see in a minute. This investor got a 12.35% rate of return. So, but if you really want to maximize your rate of return and you have your own cash available to invest, then you should look for your own deals. Like I said, this student just sent out direct mail. So if that had been you, you could have bought this note and you'd be making over 18% on your money. Okay, but as I said, we sold this to an investor, and my investor agreed to pay $48,000. And that works out just by plugging 48,000 into there. But notice I did do one other thing. Do you see that I changed the N to 61? Why did I do that? Well, instead of selling the June payment to the investor, when I sold payments to the investor, I sold beginning in July. I mean, we were closing in June, and so that was good for them because within 30 days of funding, they were getting the first payment. And what did that allow me to do? It allowed me to collect an extra $1,000 of profit. Okay. And so a lot of times you can do that. So to calculate the investor's rate of return, I put 61 into N. Okay. And they're paying 48,000. And I solve for I, and this tells me that if someone invests $48,000 for the right to collect 61 payments of $1,063.38, that their rate of return would be 12.35%. See how easy that is? Okay. A lot, a lot of it comes in being systematized. That's why I highly, highly recommend that you use these 4 steps. Okay. Um, so it allows you to sort everything out and keep everything in order, and you just don't make mistakes. And especially since this has this checkpoint of double checking and making sure that in line 3 the current balance matches the present value in line 4. Okay, so I highly encourage you to use the note evaluation worksheet. Okay, use that. And by the way, I'll give you a little heads up. I'm getting ready to come out with an online version of it. You're going to love it. You are going to totally love it. So I'm planning on debuting that at the Note Buyers Academy that's coming up. So for all of you who are coming, you'll get to see that firsthand. Okay, so this works out that our net profit was $5,500. Keeping in mind that the June payment that we kept, that's what covered our closing costs. And it wasn't to the penny, but I'm rounding these off so that it just makes it easier for the presentation. So it wound up that my student and I, we split $5,500, and that was probably for about 20 hours worth of time invested. How would you like to make that kind of money? Needless to say, I was jumping for joy and she was jumping for joy. We were very, very happy with this deal. It was truly a win-win for everyone. The note seller was happy. The payors are thrilled. They now feel very comfortable with us. They realize we're not trying to steal their house or anything like that. The investor could not be happier. They're thrilled. They're getting 12.35%. Okay. And that's not normal. Normally, when you're buying a performing note from me, because most notes are written at a lower interest rate, normally the market rate's going to be 9 or 10%. But because this started out at 10%, even with just a very small discount, the investor's making 12.35%. So this was really a win-win. And this investor, by the way, I was thinking this morning, I believe this is the 5th note that they've bought from me. People think that you need to have all these investors. Not necessarily, because if you treat your investors right, they keep coming back to you. And let's see, of these 5 deals, 2 of them paid off. One of them was a loan. It was a business loan to somebody secured by their house. Okay. And so it's not my typical deal that I give to investors, but they were interested in it. And it wound up that they defaulted on it. And so they had to foreclose, but they made their yield and they were thrilled. So 3 of them are already paid off. And they have this note and another note that they are very, very happy with. So do keep in mind that you do not have to have a lot of investors. So I hope you enjoyed those numbers. And I mentioned to you that the Academy is coming up. I'm not going to go into a long spiel about it, but if you haven't signed up or you don't know about it, for heaven's sakes, be sure and go to the website. The website is thenotebuyer.com, notebuyer.com, and go to the Academy page and check out the details. You can still get a registration. I'll tell you, I'm almost filled up, and that's not a sales ploy. I really, it's been amazing. I've had a number of people sign up in the past week, and I don't like it to be too crowded. Okay, so pretty soon here, I'm going to cut it off. But the price right now is $24.97. However, I am going to do a special bonus. And that special bonus is if you sign up, if you put in for a code, the coupon code, put in Liberty, okay? And that you can take $500 off of a single tuition. So that'll allow you to get in for $19.97. And that's for 4 full days. Check it out. Check out the testimonials and everything on the website. You can see Matthew is scrolling through it there. Check it all out and get signed up. And if you want to bring your partner or friend, you can bring your friend for just $600. Keep in mind, I supply all of the food. I take you on a riverboat cruise. It's not just a lot of learning, okay? You do learn a ton of stuff, but we have fun while we're doing it. You'll make new friends. You'll get a lot of networking. You'll meet people that you'll be able to do deals with for life. I mean, it's a real experience, okay? So if you're able to clear your schedule and come, I promise you, you will absolutely love it. Just remember to use the coupon code LIBERTY when you sign up. And Matthew, have you done our drawing yet for who wins the Negotiating is Not a Contact Sport audio classes? Do we have that yet?
No, I haven't drawn the name yet. I'll do that right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. I know you'll really enjoy those. Gil Weiss is a master negotiator, and we recorded these in a studio live, and we did role playing and stuff. And what's really neat is that I've had students who have said, you know what, I use that takeaway with my husband, or I use the thing, little things make a big difference. Different strategies that we teach on there. They were referring to and how they use those in their everyday life, not just their real estate deals. So, but going back to the academy, I have a lot of people that are coming back multiple times. Many of them were there last year. Some people come back 4, 5, or 6 times. It's that good. And I remember one year, it was Sunday afternoon, and everybody said, Donna, you need to make this an annual event. I said, no, I have to keep coming up with new material. And they said, no, because there's so much material. We've learned so much. We didn't even get the tip of the iceberg. We want to come back because every time they hear it, they get something new. Not to mention, every year it gets better because I can build on the previous year. And you'll see examples, new techniques that I've developed. This year, I want to share a new way to do partials that actually will work much, much cleaner for you. And I'm going to debut that at the Academy. There's lots of new stuff that I'm going to be sharing, deals that I've done and different things like that. Okay, so Matthew has our winner, and that is Connie Raziner. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Connie, congratulations. I know you're going to love the audio classes. So Matthew will get the links out to you so you can get those right away. And I understand, Connie, that you'll be at the Academy. I'm thrilled. That's great. So I'll look forward to seeing you there. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts on that if you like seeing the numbers of the deal. And definitely flag this webinar because so many people ask me, what should I tell somebody? They're going to create a new note. What should I tell them? Come back to this webinar and refer to this note because honestly, it doesn't get any better than this. This is exactly how I would have created a note if I were going to sell it later for top dollar. So, oh, Matthew just reminded me. Thank you, Matthew. I had a couple questions. I'm sorry. Eugene wants to know, are there specific note lawyers to use for documenting and filling a note purchase, or can you use a regular real estate? I guess that was probably filing a note purchase, or can you use a regular real estate lawyer? And do you have to use a lawyer from within the state of purchase? I wish there were note attorneys, Eugene. Unfortunately, my experience is that probably 98% of attorneys have no idea what to do with notes. They will look up the law and they will tell you, what needs to be filed and all of that. But what they really don't understand is how to calculate returns, how to calculate the payment amount, how to calculate a balloon. They don't understand that the first day needs to be 30 days after the closing. Those kind of things. They just don't know. So your best kind of attorney to find is one at a title company, because at least they're a little bit familiar with the documentation and they are most likely to understand what you're trying to do. You need to have, if they are preparing documents, then it does need to be an attorney that is licensed in the state where the property is located, where the documents are going to be filed. So that is important. And by the way, for all of you, I know I have a lot of people from Ohio. My son Ben is an attorney, and he actually used to be my licensed title officer when I owned the title company. And he knows so much about title and notes and mortgages and all of that. So if you're buying a property either in Ohio or Kentucky, definitely reach out to him. If well, his office number is 513-851-7600. And I hope he doesn't get upset with me for putting that on the webinar. He didn't know I was going to do that. But I'm sure that he would be happy to help you if you've got some deals in Ohio or Kentucky. Otherwise, like I said, Eugene, I would appeal to the title company that you're using and see if you can pay their attorney to prepare documents for you. That would be your best bet. Okay, I have another question from Kevin Zamora. In one of the first examples of Sam Seller and Bill Bauer, you state Sam is selling his house for $600,000 using seller financing, and he's charging 8% interest. I think it was 10%. He wasn't sure. I'm pretty sure it was 10%. Vina tells us to get seller financing without interest because Sam is not loaning us money. He is just selling his house at an agreed upon price, and we are paying installments. So my question is, aren't we doing a disservice to our note buyers to think and structure a note in this way? Do you always structure your notes with owner financing and interest? If so, why? Okay, I can't speak for Vina because I wasn't there and I don't know what she was getting at, but I can guess, okay? And my guess is that she was telling you how to pre-frame your negotiations. Because when you are buying a house and you want them to carry back a note, they're going to say, oh, I want 10% interest. And she's telling you to explain to them, wait a minute, you're not lending me money. I'm buying your house. I'm just paying it on installments. And so it's a way of negotiating so that you do not have to pay interest. And it's a great negotiation tactic. I would definitely use it. However, what you need to know is that normally all notes, let me put it this way, 98% of seller carryback notes have interest. Some of them might have low interest, but I rarely, ever see a note with zero interest. Not that I wouldn't buy all the time, and I would absolutely always ask for zero interest when I'm buying a note or buying a property with seller financing, but it is not the norm to get it, okay? And so I would argue, if you said that to me, I would argue, wait a minute, if you're buying my house, you should give me the cash because I could take that cash and I could reinvest it at 10%. So if you want to pay me over time, that's fine with me, but you need to pay me 10% interest because I'm losing out on that capital that I could have working someplace else at 10%. Okay. So I hope that helps you. But I fully understand why she would say that, and I recommend doing it if you're buying the property. Also, Nate had a question about how to calculate an early payoff on a partial purchase. Nate, that is a great question. It is so good that I'm going to do a presentation on it. So hang in there, and I will do a future webinar on how to calculate that. I do want to comment that I'm like really busy getting ready for the Academy. I'm creating lots of new slides and examples, and it's going to be a fantastic event. So I'm not going to hold webinars until after the Academy again. I just really need to devote my time to getting ready for the Academy. Nonetheless, anytime you have questions, please send them in, and on the next webinar, I will try to answer them. Let's see what else we got. Maybe. Okay, Matthew, I'm not sure what we're talking about there. Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, he keeps me on the straight and narrow. I am so thankful for him. So thanks for working in the background, Matthew. Um, so if anyone else has a question about today's webinar, definitely send in a question and we'll get it taken care of. Okay, so thanks again for joining us. Well, wait a minute, wait. We got a question from Blake. How best for us to structure a seller finance note on a property that I am paying a seller finance note and deed. Oh, okay. He's asking what terms, how should he structure a note if he's making the payments? Well, Vina hit the nail on the head. If you can get them to do it with no interest, absolutely, that's the best way to do it. I mean, you just want the most favorable terms that they will agree to. Because you're the one making the payments, okay? On the other hand, if you're using my technique on how to buy a property with no money down and still give the home seller cash at closing, then you're going to look at it completely different. If you are a student and you have the Master Guide system, there's a free report. You should have a link to that on how to structure it. It's too much for me to answer, right here. But basically, Blake, you want to get the best terms that you can get for yourself. Okay, so no interest, low payments, fully amortized over as long as possible. I wouldn't put a balloon on there unless you're able to pay a balloon. Okay, so that's the way that worked. Okay, so I think that does complete it. I know we're ending a little bit early, but I believe in being succinct and to the point. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Thanks again for joining me. And until next time, happy investing. God bless.